Chapter 14, Part 2. None of the men whose wives worked at the cooperative went home that night. It was Friday, and we headed out to our hacienda. We took a good look around and started making plans for settling in. The next day, we heated up the bathhouse. At my assistant's request, the village woman came to milk the cow. We watched how she did it. It was a pleasant time. The cow was quiet, not restless. She was ours now. The woman advised that she wouldn't always be able to come do the milking. We'd need to look up somebody else. After an early evening cleansing at the bathhouse, we cooked ourselves supper. It turned out we had quite a feast. My assistant fried some fish. We put out bottles of beer and vodka and sat down at the table. And all at once, moo, moo. It was the cow. We got up and headed for the barn. It was milking time, and there was no milkmaid around. We stood there, 8 men, in front of the cow and had no idea what to do. I milked my first cow in my life about 4 months ago. It was no fun. None. In any case, who can explain what sometimes happens to people at the sight of an animal? You live your life day after day without the slightest thought for non-human creatures, and then all at once you find yourself in a situation where one of them's in your house. A cat, a dog, or some other animal, and you find you have the same kind of feelings come over you that you'd have in the presence of a child. You're nervous, you worry. Why is that? Maybe it's really true that the first man, Adam, when God gave him the job of naming all the creatures, looked upon each one with love, and this love is something we've all inherited. It hides, for the most part, deep down inside us and makes an appearance only from time to time. Nobody can say for certain whether that's true or not. Only each one of us, I'm telling you, had some sort of feeling for that cow, and I'm positive it felt something for us too. And this is what came out of it. Oh, someone's name I can't pronounce. Seryozhka Kolokov said, hold on. The milk's likely bursting her udder. We've got to do something. We started in pestering. The assistant. Missionin. Why on earth, we said, did you buy a cow? And yet at the same time, we felt bad about selling it. It had only been 1 day, but we had somehow taken to it like one of our own. The cow looked at us with her sorrowful eyes, silently. Then she stretched her head out toward me and let out a loud moo. She was mooing so pleadingly, and I told Missionin, better get to the milking right away since you were the one who brought her. Missionin quickly fetched the milk pail, tied the kerchief around his head, the kerchief the milkmaid had left behind, and climbed into the cow's stall. He asked us not to leave, as God knows what this cow might do. She let him approach and start milking her. We brought the cow some water to drink, put fresh hay into her stall, and gave her some bread. Missionin went on milking. At first he wasn't very successful. Only very thin streams of milk came out, and even they sometimes missed the pail. But then it got a little better. After 15 minutes, the milk was still coming. Missionin said, whispering for some reason, "Sweat, my sweat's getting in the way." We gathered up handkerchiefs from whoever had them, and Seryozha climbed into the stall to wipe the perspiration from Alexei's forehead. He squatted down beside him to see how the milking was going, from time to time wiping the sweat from Alexei's face, and suddenly we could hear Seryozha's agitated whisper. "What are you doing? You're hurting her. You've got a good stream coming from your right hand, but only a third of that from your left. You can permanently damage her udder that way." "It's my fingers," Mishinin whispered. "It's 'cause my fingers have gone numb in my left hand. Maybe you'd better help." Seryozha approached the cow from the other side, and they began milking together simultaneously. After half an hour, maybe more, they had milked a whole pailful. That night at supper we drank fresh milk, and I swear it was the best tasting milk we'd ever had in our lives. Early the next morning we were awakened by the milkmaid, who told us with some astonishment that she had tried milking the cow that morning, but for some unknown reason the cow wouldn't let her anywhere close to her. Once again, we trotted off to the barn. We did everything just the way we had the night before, and the cow started milking. Quote, "Well, ain't that the limit?" exclaimed the woman. "Since the cow seems to like you so much, you can milk her from now on. Happens that way, you know. A cow can let some people come close, but others she jolly well won't." Our cow, it turned out, was quite picky. Not only did she not let any of the hired milkmaids near her, whenever she was milked, she demanded that one of us stand by her muzzle and feed her and talk to her, while the milking had to be a joint effort on the part of two men together. That meant 3 of us had to go for each milking session. So that's how we drew up the schedule, 3 at a time, at least until we sold the cow, we thought. But it wasn't long before the rumors about our picky cow began flying around. Buyers would come and try milking her themselves, and nothing happened. And they'd refuse to take her even for a pittance. Granted, I did make one condition, that she wasn't to be slaughtered for meat. We called in a veterinarian, and he told us that does happen, fellows. An animal gets used to someone and may reject others for a long time. But tell me, what on earth possessed you to domesticate her that way? He didn't have any real advice to offer us, apart from telling us that our cow was calving, meaning she was pregnant. When the time came, we would have to prepare for the birthing. The vet indicated the approximate date. We wouldn't know when the time was near until she stopped giving milk. Since the men were obliged to keep watch, 3 at once, we ended up spending a lot of time at our hacienda, even staying overnight there. Our wives had a hard time accepting that we were really having problems with the cow, since they'd sworn never to set foot in our hacienda themselves, and looked upon this whole story of the cow as a convenient excuse. The women and wives working at the cooperative completely lost all sense of self-control. They started telling obscene jokes. The one who complained about her husband's bad smell said, "Only a sexual pervert could attract such a perverted cow." To which he retorted, "I'd rather spend my whole life milking a silent cow than listening to your dumb remarks." Soon afterward, he moved out completely to live in the hacienda and later got a divorce from his wife. He married a young country girl with a child and became quite a decent farmer. Then the day came when the cow stopped giving milk. On the vet's advice, we got everything ready for the birthing, but the cow gave birth all by herself without incident. She bore a little bull calf, a handsome son of a gun. When we called the vet, he took one look at the parent and said, "Well, that's great. Nothing more to be done here. She's taken care of it all by herself. Just keep the place clean. Make sure she's well fed." Sometime later, we managed to find a good home for both the cow and her bull calf. One day we went over to see what a handsome creature he had turned into, our little bull, and everything was arranged nicely for his mother. Even now, I still think of her. I wonder whether she remembers us. But while we got things settled for the cow, we didn't manage to restore a sense of harmony and mutual understanding in the cooperative. So I ended up dividing the cooperative in two, reorganizing part of it under a different name. I began using the chartered ship to make long trading voyages to the north along the river Ob. In between such voyages, I conducted business cruises for Russian and foreign entrepreneurs. I took the lesson home that one indispensable condition of success, among others, is a sense of mutual understanding and respect in a collective. You must have faith not only in your own abilities, but in everyone else's. Any kind of ability you have is multiplied by your faith in the people around you.